This is every single Internet Explorer update explained in 10 minutes. Internet Explorer 1. Internet Explorer 1 released on August 24th, 1995. It was a remade version of Spyglass Mosaic? Anyways, it was a version of Spyglass Mosaic which Microsoft licensed. It originally came with the purchase of Microsoft Plus for Windows 95, with having cool features like 3D pinball and desktop themes. Internet Explorer was originally a jumpstart kit, getting yourself into the web. Having this in mind, Internet Explorer was small, having around 6 people when it first began in early development, and later on the fall, Internet Explorer 1.5 was released in Windows NT, and adding support for basic HTML table, rendering the web browser. And if you don't know what HTML table is, it does calculations of how browsers should be displayed, and if you don't get that, here's an image that helps explain. And they also did this with free of charge. Also, Internet Explorer came with a feature that made it easier to install by having an installer that did most of the work. Even though Internet Explorer 1 is no longer through Microsoft, there is still archived versions of software out there that you can still check out for yourself before it's gone. And while the year 1995 was coming to a close, Microsoft decided to make their next Internet Explorer version, Internet Explorer 2. Internet Explorer 2 was released November 27, 1995, and this time there was good features, like the support of cookies, frames VR ML, which is a standard file format for representing 3D dimension interactive vector graphics. And if you don't understand, here's an image that'll help you. RSA, which lets you safely communicate using public keys while keeping private keys secret, SSL, and JavaScript. This version was released for Windows 3.1 and the Macintosh. Yes, the Apple Macintosh, later on in August 1996. Although by this time, Windows was already getting the third version, Internet Explorer 3. Internet Explorer 3 was released on August 13, 1996, and this version was more popular than the last two, having the first major browser with CSS support, which make things look prettier and cleaner to look at. It also supported ActiveX controls that lets a website run certain interactive programs or features directly inside Internet Explorer. Java Applet, which could create things like games, animation, calculations, and interactive features, inline media, and more. This version was also released on a bundle with Internet Mail, Newsnet Meeting, and an early version of Address Book. This version had a bunch of security holes, which can lead hackers to attack the software or access private information, which wasn't the greatest. It was called the Princeton Word Macrovirus Loophole, and it was discovered on August 22, 1996. This was also the first version that had the iconic blue E that we know and love. Then, on September 22, 1997, Internet Explorer 4 was released. And this version was the one that became built-in Windows instead of being a separate program. You see, if you install Internet Explorer 4 on Windows 95 or Windows NT 4.0 and select Desktop Update, it would change Windows to look and work more like the web browser, and Microsoft have gotten a lot of criticism for it, even ended up of them having a whole lawsuit, US versus Microsoft. And so this option was no longer available with installers of later versions of Internet Explorer, but it wasn't completely removed because people who had already installed it can continue to have it. This introduced support for group policy, allowing companies to configure and lock down many aspects of the browser, even offline. Internet Mail and News were replaced with Lookout Express. Microsoft Chat, which let people communicate with each other over the internet, got improved. And we got also an improved Net Meeting. 2 years later, Internet Explorer 5 was created on March 18, 1999, and later was included with Windows 98 and bundled with Office 2000 and a requirement on Office XP to install. This version supported bidirectional text that mixes right to left or left to right, writing directions on the same line. For example, right to left is Hebrew and left to right is English. Also, Ruby characters is basically one symbol, letter, number, or punctuation mark. XML, XSLT, and the ability to save web pages in MHTML. This version was also released the very first version of XML HTTP request. It is a web browser technology that lets the web page send and receive data from a server without completely reloading the page. And by this time, Internet Explorer team consists of now over 1,000 people with funds over $10 million per year. And as the new millennium comes, so does a new version of Internet Explorer, Internet Explorer 6. Internet Explorer 6 was released on August 24, 2001, and later introduced with Windows XP and Windows Server 2003. This version included DHTML enhancement, content restricted inline frames, and partial support of CSS Level 1, DOM Level 1, which is a program interface provided by web browsers that turn HTML or XML documents into a tree of objects, and SMIL version 2, which is a computer language used to control and synchronize multimedia. Other new features was the Internet Explorer Administration Kit, which is a tool from Microsoft that lets businesses, schools, and organizations customize Internet Explorer before giving it to users. Media bar, messenger integration fault collection, automatic image resizing, P3P, which is a private feature in Internet Explorer that helps websites tell your browser what they plan to do with personal information, and a new look and feel to match the Windows XP style called Luna. And also in version 6, the logo got a lighter blue and more of a 3D look. Then, in October 18, 2006, Internet Explorer 7 was released, and later on in Windows Vista and Windows Server 2008. It included bug fixes, enhancement to its support for web standards, tab browsing, which is a web browser that lets you open multiple web pages in separate tabs within the same browser window, a multiple engine search box, a web feeder reader, IDN support, which is a web address that contains characters from languages other than basic English letters A through Z, EV, which is a type of HTTPS security certificate that was designed to provide stronger verification of who owns and operates a website, and it's an anti-Fisher filter. 3 years later, on March 19, 2009, Internet Explorer 8 was released, and later on released on Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008, and this was the first version of Internet Explorer to pass ACID 2, which is a wedge page that tests web browsers' functionality and display aspects of HTML markup, and later ACID 3 tests, but nothing really happened in this version. Then Internet Explorer 9 released not too far after. Internet Explorer 9 was released March 14, 2011. Microsoft first announced this version as a professional developed conference in 2009, mainly spoken about how it would take advantage of the hardware acceleration in DirectX, which is a collection of Microsoft technology APIs that help software, especially video games, communicate with your computer hardware to improve the quality of web typography, which is the design of pages. And in MIX10, Microsoft showed and publicly released the first platform preview of Internet Explorer 9. It did well on the ACID 3 test with a 95 out of 10, then later on getting a 10 out of 10, and this version was the first to release on Xbox 360 in October 2012 with Kinect support. Now we are getting to the double digits, Internet Explorer 10. Internet Explorer 10 was released September 4, 2012, and later on Windows 8 and Windows Server 2012. This introduced HTML5 drag and drop and SCC3 gradients, but it didn't really do anything much, and led us to our last Internet Explorer version, Internet Explorer 11. Internet Explorer 11 was the last version of Internet Explorer. It was released October 17, 2013. It included an incomplete mechanism for synchronizing tabs, and it featured a major update to its developer tool, which can make people debug and modify their website. It also enhanced scaling for high DPI screens, HTML5 pre-render and prefetch, hardware accelerated JPEG decoding, closing captions, and having HTML5 full screen. It was also the first version of Internet Explorer to support WebGL. This is now the end of our journey. Internet Explorer has reached through many different versions, to popular ones like Internet Explorer 3 and controversial ones like Internet Explorer 4. Reading and making this video made me realize how much time I'm wasting on my life, so please like and subscribe, and Zappilation is out.